You study for hours. You practice things privately but freeze when it's public. You learn things once but can't recall them when it counts. Now imagine a pilot like that, flying at 30,000 feet, moving hundreds of miles per hour with hundreds of lives behind. They're surrounded with instruments, alarms, radio calls with seconds to react if something goes wrong. Hesitating, guessing, forgetting, that doesn't happen. But not because they are geniuses. That doesn't happen because their training is built to prevent it. Pilots use learning systems designed for one thing, to make complex skills automatic and fast. And if you steal their systems, you'll apply it to literally anything you want. 1. Death practice. Pilots don't only train in the air. Before a real flight, they mentally run through the entire process: takeoff, climb, cruise, landing, and even emergencies. They imagine mistakes before they happen. They picture instruments failing, weather changing, engines cutting out, and they visualize what the correct response would be. This isn't daydreaming, it's structured visualization, and it's one of the most effective learning methods there is. You see, your brain doesn't see much difference between imagined and lived experiences. This mental process builds familiarity for a real flight experience. That familiarity reduces hesitation, and hesitation is what slows people down. Now, pilots don't think about applause or perfect outcomes. They visualize friction. They search for weak points in their own thinking. If there's a moment where they hesitate in their mind, that's the exact spot they train harder, and this makes them gain actual experience even before flying the plane. They also have special simulators for this, but you don't need them. Just close your eyes, imagine the process of the skill you want to master. Feel the pressure. Force yourself to imagine what could go wrong. Try to come up with solutions fast, but if you can't, you've just discovered your next training target. That's how you gain experience before the experience. 2. The 10,000-foot protocol. In aviation, there's something called the Sterile Cockpit Rule. Pilots are forbidden for any meaningless actions while being below 10,000 feet. No small talks, no side conversations, just peak concentration. You see, takeoff and landing are the highest risk phases of flight. This is where focus matters most. They protect their attention when any error isn't allowed. Same as with your brain. Most people start learning casually, half-focused, notifications on, easy tasks first. Pilots do the opposite. They give maximum concentration to the hardest phase first. And if you do that too, the rest feel easier than they actually are. And since your brain loves easy tasks, it will stay engaged longer. So here's what you can do. When you begin learning, set a 20-minute timer and start with the most difficult part to understand or perform, the part that you've been avoiding. Try to complete it in that 20 minutes without any distractions. No notifications, no snacks, no daydreaming. And don't worry if the quality isn't good yet. Just try to maintain intensity. After that 20 minutes, your brain automatically stays locked in. You'll no longer need to force yourself to focus, and the rest feels easier. Not because it is, but because you are now operating at a higher level of engagement. 3. Checklists beat memory. Aviation runs on checklists, not because pilots forget what to do, but because memory collapses under pressure. Even experienced pilots use a checklist before takeoff, before landing, during emergencies. They don't rely on memory, they rely on systems. Because when you're thinking about 10 things at once, your brain slows down, and speed matters. A checklist removes the basics from your head, so your brain can focus on what actually requires thinking. That's the advantage. They're not smarter, they're less mentally cluttered, and that's why they react faster. If you are working on a presentation, write down the checklist of what it absolutely needs to have, which could be core idea, strong opening line, one example, one joke, and summary. Once the fundamentals are written down and automated, your brain is free to absorb new information. That's when learning speeds up, not when you try to remember everything, but when you stop needing to. 4. The Brutal Debrief. Most people study once, make mistakes, and move on, but this could be deadly for a pilot. Pilots don't actually prevent mistakes, they prevent the same mistakes from repeating twice. This method allows their practices to be as feedback-rich as possible, and the more feedback you get, the faster you'll improve. So you should practice like your life depends on it, and I'll show you how. Every pilot follows this principle to improve rapidly. Brief, perform, and debrief. Before you begin practicing, answer 3 questions in the brief part. What's the goal? What could go wrong? What's the plan? Then execute according to these points. But now comes the most important part, debrief. After performing, answer another 3 questions but with brutal honesty. What went well? What failed? What can be done better next time? But doing this once or twice won't give you any results. You need to do this consistently for weeks. And if you have that discipline, you will feel how fast you're improving. You'll see how much still there is to learn, and you will never make the same mistakes twice. There you have it. If you enjoyed this video, you'll love the next one.